Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be going over a topic which I've had to research in some depth, and that is the Iron Golem. The Iron Golem is one of those abilities that just really doesn't quite have enough explanation. And that no matter how deep you dig into it, it just seems like there's a never-ending hole of information. In fact, I'm not even sure exactly where to start. Let's just go ahead and build a rather generic summon necro, and then we'll go from there, shall we? So let's just go ahead and build our standard summon necro. Let's go ahead and grab 1 point into each of the Golem Mastery, the Summon Resist, and let's go ahead and grab 1 point into our Iron Golem. So Iron Golem is a precursor to Revive. You need it to get to Revive. Iron Golem doesn't look very impressive on the surface. When you look at his abilities, he has about 4,949 life, which doesn't seem to last very long, quite honestly. He has attack rating, he has damage. His damage is absolutely pathetic, even at level, 20. He is currently only at 12 to 33 damage, which is really, really bad. His Thorns damage actually sort of becomes a little bit different than it used to be. So in the past, it was a damage return percentage, and now it's a flat damage return because they were playing around with the like the Thorns, and Thorns works a little bit differently here and there. And we might as well cover Thorns specifically. So the Iron Golem, when you summon him, does have a Thorns ability. If we were to grab just a random piece of trash, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's made out of metal, we take that metal weapon and we can turn it into a golem. Once the golem is created out of the item ceases to exist. It is basically gone forever. When you summon the golem, he is summoned, of course, at the level that you summoned him at. However, when you increase the level of the skill, for instance, if I were to go ahead and dump 20 points into the Iron Golem, now my Iron Golem is at level, 39, with a defense of plus 365. He's got no additional life, as you can see, so dumping points didn't really do a whole lot for him as far as his life went. In fact, to bring up his life, we actually have to put points into the Blood Golem. That's where his life comes from. And as you can see, even with 20 points in Blood Golem, he only goes up to 5,880. So not a huge bonus. However, we summoned him at level 20. And does that mean he is forever at level 20? The answer to that question is no. So when you leave the game, and when you join the game again, your Iron Golem dies. A lot of people don't know this. Your Iron Golem does not persist. So basically what happens is when you leave the game, your Iron Golem dies. And when you join the game, the Iron Golem is summoned from the item that you summoned him with at the new level of the skill that your level is currently at, which is a double-edged sword. So it is both yes and no. So basically what that means is if you're lower than the level that you originally summoned him at, he will actually be worse. So, you know, like let's say for some reason I were to take off some of my charms, maybe I put my torch in the stash, and I decreased his level by whatever. By doing this, I have decreased my skill level in Iron Golem. And then when I leave the game and I rejoin, the level of my golem will go down. So you have to be very careful to make sure that you have all of your plus skill equipment on for your Iron Golem before you leave the game. That way, when you enter your next game, the golem will be the highest level summoned that he possibly can be. His level will not change inside the game. It only changes when you leave the game and when you join a new game. He's summoned at the current level of your Iron Golem. And this is the reason why Metal Grid doesn't work. Because what happens is you use Metal Grid to summon an Iron Golem, and then it goes to check and see what level Iron Golem you have when you join the next game, and you don't have the Iron Golem skill. So it doesn't resummon your Golem, and that's why you lose your Golem when you use Metal Grid. It's rather unfortunate. I do wish they would make the Metal Grid Amulet Iron Golem persist. I think that could be really cool, but they decided not to. So we dump some points into strength here, so I have enough to actually wear my triangle set. And then let's dump some points into vitality. Actually, no, let's put some into energy so I don't have any issues with energy. And then the rest into vitality. All right, so what do we have to make our Iron Golem tankier? Number one, we have obviously the Iron Golem skill itself, which increases his defense. We also have the Blood Golem skill, which is going to increase his total life, which is definitely nice. Then we have the Clay Golem skill, which will increase his life by percentages. So 460%, as you can see, is what it is right now. And if I cap it out, it goes up to 840%. He gets a little bit more attack rating and a little nicer run walk speed. The Summon Resist ability also beefs up his resistances, which is going to make him tankier against things that he fights. And in general, if you want your Iron Golem to be tanky, you need at least a couple points into Summon Resist, or he's going to die really easily. This particular video is going to be about the Iron Golem. So we're going to cap out the Iron Golem as high as we can. So right now, we literally have maxed out Iron Golem. We have maxed out Golem Mastery. We have maxed out Summon Resist. I don't really think it goes much higher than 70%, by the way. And then we have maxed out Blood Golem, which gives him more HP. So our Blood Golem is running 10,192 life right now. Now, that sword that we made him out of was pretty crappy. Let's look at some other options of what we could make him out of. We could make him out of an Infinity. And then he could have Conviction Aura. That would be kind of neat. We could make him out of a Dream. He could have Holy Shock Aura. We could make him out of a Doom, and he could have Holy Freeze Aura. We could make him out of a Beast, and he could have Fanaticism. We could make him out of a Reaper's Toll, so he can spam Decrepify. We could make him out of a Woe Stave, so he can spam Open Wounds, Prevent Monster Heal, Hit Blinds Target, Freezes Target, Slows Monster by 50%, Negative Monster Defense. It's a whole lot of things that he could spam as a Woe Stave. In fact, let's start out with the Woe Stave, shall we? Now, the damage on the Woe Stave is a little low at 16 to 63, and if you really wanted to make your Iron Golem out of this, you would probably want to upgrade it so that the damage would increase, but we're not going to be doing that right this second. So basically, you just drop it on the ground, and you make your Iron Golem out of it. Bam. Now, one of the big downsides, unfortunately, to this is that if you ever accidentally create another Golem, doesn't matter what it is, you will delete your Golem. And this is one of the things that I really wish they would fix for this particular game. They need to... how do I put this? They need to create a situation where the Iron Golem isn't so ridiculously mortal. So when the Iron Golem dies from his own, lack of power, or if the Iron Golem dies because you're an idiot and you put him in a bad situation, or he dies because you die, there are definitely some good reasons why the Iron Golem can die. If I die, for instance, the Iron Golem is going to die with me. And this is, of course, a bad thing. But one of the worst ways to lose your Iron Golem is to lose your Iron Golem by accidentally summoning like a Clay Golem or something like that. And instantaneously, your item for the Iron Golem is just gone. And it has happened to me before. Even by reflex, because, as a Necromancer, you spend a lot of time resummoning your Golem, especially if you use a Clay Golem. And so your first little while playing a Necromancer, you may accidentally kill your own Golem. And while a Woe Stave is certainly not a super ridiculously, crazy item to lose, something like an Infinity definitely would be. So let's play around with these ideas, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about what these things actually mean and how they work. All right. So the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to remember that he has literally no damage. If you look at the Iron Golem's damage, he's 12 to 33. He basically doesn't have a weapon. So if you make him out of something that's not a weapon, his damage is going to be very poor. Take Tiamat's Rebuke, for instance, which has level 6 Hydra when struck, level 7 Nova when struck, level 9 Frost Nova when struck. It has fire, lightning, ice damage, and a little bit of all res. If I make him out of this, he's going to get all those benefits, but he's not going to have any damage. he's not going to be killing anything. He'll be a little bit tankier because he's made out of a shield. He has additional defense. He will have the cold, the fire, and the lightning damage from the Tiamat's Rebuke. And when they hit him, he will actually proc the effects, although they're relatively low percentages, so it's probably not going to happen too ridiculously often. And this means that you will get everything that is on the shield that is stated. The easiest way to think about the Iron Golem and his abilities is think about it like this. The Iron Golem is wearing the piece of equipment. That is the way you need to think about it. The Iron Golem is wearing the piece of equipment. Don't think about it any other way than that. He's not being created from the piece of equipment. He's not being, like, morphed into some sort of, like, mathematical formula of this is the piece of equipment and this is how the piece of equipment turns him into and gives him this amount of damage and this amount of shields and this amount of that. And it doesn't use, like, any kind of unique identifier or anything like that to achieve this goal. He's literally just wearing the item. Okay? So if you want your Iron Golem to have damage, he needs a weapon. As you can clearly see, the damage that he outputs by being made out of a shield is relatively low and just kind of terrible. So you could make him out of something like this. This is the Nasher Hand Axe. It's a low-level item. It is a metal item. It is important to note that Iron Golems can only be made out of metal items. I don't know if I mentioned this before. But you cannot make them out of clubs, wands, crystal swords, gloves, belts, throwing weapons, staves, bows, crossbows, jewelry, leather armor, or leather boots. Basically, think about it like this. It needs to have a metal component. This obviously has the metal blade. So if we make him out of this, he's going to get the open wounds, and he's going to get the crushing blow, which is actually going to make him pretty strong in terms of his damage, even if he doesn't actually have any real physical damage. He's going to lose those special effects, though. He doesn't have the chance to proc the abilities anymore or anything like that, but you will notice that as he's attacking the monster, especially if we go into the old graphics, the monster will be bleeding. So there's your open wounds, your proof that open wounds transfers. The only things, to my knowledge, that do not transfer to the Golem are Magic Find, because technically your Golem has your Magic Find. And I'm trying to remember what the other one is. It's been a little while. Mana Steal, of course, because he doesn't have mana. So anything revolving around mana. He doesn't have any mana. Mana after each kill, Mana Steal, Mana Regeneration. None of those things are going to affect him because he doesn't actually have mana points. But as you can see, he's actually able to kill things because of the open wounds, along with the crushing blow. So he's in an interesting situation now where he actually is outputting some damage. It's been my experience that crushing blow tends to work better on the Iron Golem than raw damage numbers. So you want weapons that are going to provide him with multiple effects. Something like a Flesh Ripper Fanged Knife would work very, very well on this kind of a character, especially in its ethereal form. Now, when you make him out of an ethereal item, he's going to gain the ethereal sort of a look to him. This is to indicate that you've created him out of an ethereal item. It doesn't have any other effect, really, other than just simply stating that he's been made out of an ethereal item. So let's try something interesting. Let's use the Doom Cryptic Axe. So the Doom Cryptic Axe has the Holy Freeze aura on it. So now notice that my Golem has a very nice Holy Freeze aura on him in combination with his thorns. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the thorns on the Golem does not stack with regular thorns. They actually overwrite each other. So the Paladin's thorns, for instance, will overwrite the Golem's thorns. As you can see now, he's got a Holy Freeze aura. He's actually dishing out a little bit of damage here and there. And let me just go ahead and shoot some fireball. Oh, these guys are immune to fire. You're not immune to fire. How about that? I mean, having a mercenary with Holy Freeze on is definitely interesting. But of course, the problem is if he dies, well, you know, then I've just lost my Doom, which is a pretty expensive rune word, just all around. Just a very expensive rune word. And this is, of course, the tankiest that he can possibly be. He's not going to get much tankier than Max Blood Golem, Max Golem Mastery, and Max Iron Golem, combined with a decent amount of summon resist to the point where he hits 70%. And you notice that he really doesn't do a lot of damage, though. Like, I think the Iron Golem really comes down to what kind of utility you want out of him, and whether or not you can maintain that utility in case he dies or you die. So let me go over really quickly again what can kill your Iron Golem, okay? So obviously, if your Iron Golem dies himself, that is number 1. If you die, your Iron Golem will die, so that is number 2. You can accidentally kill him by summoning one of the other golems or accidentally summoning another Iron Golem. That is 3 ways he can die. In the past, I'm not sure if about now because they have tried to fix this several times, but in the past he could also despawn, unfortunately, from sometimes being way too far away from you. Instead of just teleporting to you, sometimes he would despawn. So there are 4 different ways that your golem can die, and obviously losing a golem made out of something like a Doom or an Infinity is pretty ridiculous. Now, the Infinity is certainly one of the more expensive items at Bur Mal Bur Ist, but having a ridiculous Iron Golem made out of an Infinity is something to behold, because now you have permanent Conviction Aura. So when I go into the, say into the Frisian Highlands, and I start fighting some of these monsters, they are going to have a permanent Conviction Aura on them, and it even breaks their immunity. This one in particular, he was immune to fire when I started, and now he's no longer immune to fire. I could summon an army. I could have my mages. I could have a obviously a mercenary as well, which is certainly interesting. So I could have double auras. Now, using an infinity like this is really dangerous, and it's really expensive. Infinities are not easy to come by, and making an Iron Golem out of an infinity is almost insane. And unless you've got like extra infinities laying around to just continually remake your Iron Golem every time he dies, or you die, I'm not exactly sure that's really sustainable. Now, there are items that are sustainable, like for instance, the Insight Polearm is not bad. It's not a very particularly ridiculous recipe. We also have the Beast Axe, which has the Fanaticism aura, which, while expensive, is not anywhere near as expensive as an Infinity. At 1 Burr and an Rune and a Mal. Honestly, the Burr rune is really the only expensive rune in this rune word. The Reaper's Toll is not so expensive. You could actually pick up non-ethereal versions on a regular basis to make him out of. Obviously, if you wanted to make him in his most optimal form, you'd want the ethereal version for the extra DPS that it would output, because he does get all of the damage that's on the weapon. Like I said, he is actually wielding the weapon, so he's using it. And the ability to spam Decrepify is certainly very interesting, but you're a Necromancer. You can do that yourself. I mean, I guess it would be an interesting lazy man's Necromancer. You just have your golem spam the Decrepify for you. I mean, it is a rather short duration after all. It's only 4 seconds, and so having your golem spam it over and over again could be a little bit easier on you. I don't know. Then you can make him out of things like a Dream Helmet. Now, a Dream Helmet is going to offer him level 15 Holy Shock unsynergized, which isn't going to be too amazing, but it is also going to offer him the Confuse when struck, the Holy Freeze, the faster hit recovery. Defensively, it should help him out quite a lot. Just not going to do much for him offensively. Even the Holy Shock aura really isn't going to do that much for him, because without the synergies, it just really doesn't help him out too ridiculously much. And let's see here. So as a Necromancer, there's a lot of ways you can build yourself. You can obviously build the Poison Tree. You can build the Bone Tree. You can obviously build a full Summon Necromancer. And one of the interesting things about the Iron Golem is that he's very customizable to your specific needs. So, if you were a Bone Necromancer, you could make him out of Meditation Polearms, the Insight Polearms, and you could have basically infinite meditation for free. Insight Polearms are not so ridiculously hard to come by. You don't have to make them in the most ridiculous base. You could just pick up any, socketed pole arm, and you could make an insight in it and just have a couple of them, stacked up, ready to go. So whenever he dies, you just replace him. You could also make him out of other items that have auras on them. I don't really think making him out of an exile would be the greatest idea in the world, but you totally could. And it would be a very defensive golem because he would have defiance. He would have increased maximum resistances. He would have, obviously some very nice blocking. I'm not really sure if the Iron Golem can block or not. It's not really something that I can quite figure out. I don't know if he actually has a shield. Most mercenaries, actually all mercenaries that I know of, are incapable of blocking, and I have to assume that the Iron Golem also is incapable of blocking, just simply because he is also technically, in that category of mercenary land. Trying to think if there's anything I've forgotten here with the Iron Golem. Let's let him go pick on some noobs real quick while I'm thinking. Now, obviously, one of the beauties of the Iron Golem is that he's probably never going to be unsupported. And I think that's kind of one of the really important things that you have to consider with the Iron Golem, is that you're not going into this in an unsupported manner. You're going to obviously summon things. You're going to obviously try and keep him alive. You're going to work your best to to obviously keep yourself from dying as well. And once you have your full army running, he's a cog in a wheel, not so much a a single part that has to do all the work itself. So, once you start getting your army involved, which, what do I have? How many skeletons? 17 skeletons? So once you get your 17 skeletons running, and then maybe summon some magi, some mages too. What's up, Grizzy Bees? And then, of course, another thing you can do is go grab yourself a mercenary. So let's go ahead and grab a mercenary real quick. We'll take us but a second. We'll hop over to Act 2, and we'll grab one of the aura mercs. So, like, what are we going to use of this guy? Probably Might. Might is a really good one. We could also go with Thorns. Thorns would overwrite our Iron Golem's Thorns, but he would still get Thorns. So let's go ahead and grab Gulzar. He doesn't have any equipment. Let's give him something. I'm sure we got something laying around. We can give him this Reaper's Tool. There you go. And then he's spamming Decrepify. And then we'll give him this Dream Helmet. And get some armor in here. We do got some armor. Let's give him a Skin of the Flayed one. And then we take our army down here. We've got our Iron Golem now. We've got our skeletons. Then of course we can have our ridiculous mages too, which recently got buffed up. And of course, since we're running Conviction, the mages are going to get a nice little bump in damage because they're obviously they've got elemental damage. So having more mages with Conviction certainly wouldn't be a bad idea. Now we've got our 10 mages. We've got our Iron Golem. We've got our skeletons. We've got our mercenary. And as you can see, we've got a nice little pack here. We could, of course, toss in an aura, put something like amp damage up, which I don't have any auras at this particular moment, or curses at this particular moment. Just have lots of skeletons, and that's it. Because I didn't put points anywhere else. I didn't put points in the Poison and Bone Parade tree. I didn't put points in the Curses tree. I didn't only put points in the Summoning tree. And this is one of the big downsides of the golems, and this is one of the things that I hope that they will eventually work on, is that each one of the golems is linked in together, and then the addition of the golem mastery and the summon resistance makes for a very heavy very extremely heavy skill point, system. So, like if I wanted to absolutely max out one particular golem, like say if I wanted to max out the Iron Golem, I would need 20 points in the Iron Golem himself, 20 points in Golem Mastery, that's already 40, 20 points in the Blood Golem to beef up his HP, so that's 20, 40, 60. Then we would need another, if we want to beef up his damage, 20 points in the Fire Golem, which is obviously we're now at 80, so we're at 80 points just to get him to a point where he's not doing too bad. If we want to increase his attack rating so we can actually hit targets, now we're at 100 points literally to get him to his highest level. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and at least 1 point in summon resistance. So we're looking at 101 points to get him to the point where he's maxed out. And even then, he's still going to get a little bit more bonuses from plus to skills and things like that. As you can see, I only have him at level 42. We could potentially go higher. I just threw Trangs on this guy because why not? He's using Trangs and he's using Arm of King Leoric. If you really wanted to get your Iron Golem as high as possible, you could obviously have a swap 2. And this swap 2 would most likely have +2 to Necro with +3 to Iron Golem, which would be +5, which would be more than what this particular item is providing to our Iron Golem. And you could even keep that on, swap to it before you leave the game, go out, come back in with it on, and then swap back to your main item. Because as we talked about earlier, he resummons when he's when you join the game, essentially. What else is there to talk about with the Iron Golem? I feel like I've gone over everything with him. He has the auras. He transfers Crushing Blow. He transfers things like Static Field, which is very, very nice. So if you make a Crescent Moon in a like a metal sword, it's got to be a metal sword, not a crystal sword. You probably want to use a faster base because the whole purpose of those is to be fast, but it can't be a Phase Blade, Dimensional Blade, or Crystal Sword. So you're going to have to choose something like a Conquest Sword would be a good choice. Obviously, you can also put things on him like Prevent Monster Heal. You can also put things on him like Knockback. Now, Knockback should generally be avoided with the Iron Golem because if you do put Knockback on the Iron Golem, he is going to knock the enemies away from himself, and he's going to chase them down, and he's going to get himself into ridiculous amounts of trouble. And it's actually really, really bad because what ends up happening is, obviously if your Iron Golem dies, then that's it. You've lost your item forever. I mean, you already lose your item when you create him, technically. I mean, it's gone. You're never going to get it back. But at least you have the golem that it's made out of. But once your golem dies, then you don't even have that, which is very, very sad. So having a knockback on an item is going to be very, 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 very poor. Now, there are definitely some items that make very good Iron Golems that don't necessarily break the bank. Like, for instance, the IK Maul. Let's go take a look at the IK Maul real quick. The IK Maul is something that drops all the time, and if you are a Iron Golem Necromancer, I would hold on to these because you could make Iron Golems out of the IK Mauls, and they are absolutely great items for Iron Golems. When you take a look at it, you see it has really nice damage. It has 40% increased attack speed. It's got 40% crushing blow, which is absolutely amazing. And then really nice bonus damage to demons and undead. And it has 2 sockets, so you can put something in it. So like you could socket it with more damage, or you could put fire in there, or you could put shales. And speaking of shale runes and increased attack speed, let's go over the Iron Golem's attack speed. So this is an interesting topic. The reason why this is interesting is because he is an AI unit. He has a kind of a crappy 15 frame interval between his attacks. This is something that's specific with AI units. His attack speed can be increased, but the problem is that because there is a delay basically in his attacks, sort of the same way that Meteor works. I feel like Meteor is probably the best option to explain this. So when you cast Meteor, what ends up happening is you have a delay, right? So this delay causes the skill not to be cast again for that particular time period. Now you can get faster cast, and you can increase the speed at which you cast the ability, but because you have this built-in delay, it's a lot less than you would really hope for. And that's part of the issue. So let me see if I can show you this real quick. So this is Meteor, and as you can see, it has a very nice delay on its abilities. And the Iron Golem works very similarly to this. Increasing his speed will not decrease the delay, so the 15 frame delay will always be there on the Iron Golem. But you can increase his frames by increasing his attack speed. And it does go up rather nicely, all the way up to 9 frames, I think is what you're capable of getting him to. And it's still 9 plus 15. So no matter what, no matter how fast you make his attack speed, it's still going to be 9 plus 15, which is pretty bad. So what's that? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So he's basically a full second in between every single attack, no matter what, which is very sad. Let's see here. So off-weapon damage from any source is included into the sum of any weapon damage and base damage. So this is kind of an odd one. So I guess because he's made out of the item, it gives him the off-weapon ED essentially as on-weapon ED. Of course, he's translucent if he's made from an ethereal item. His level is used in his 2-hit calculations in determining attack and defense, and is basically the same level as the caster's level. So as you level up, he will become stronger for the same reason that, like, if you're a level 70 character fighting a level 90 monster and you're having trouble hitting that monster, your golem is going to have trouble hitting that monster also. And this is part of the issue with level difference and attack rating. So basically, as you level up, and since he is resummoned every single time you join a game, every time you level up, your Iron Golem is going to get a little bit stronger with you because he's going to be more easily able to attack targets. And also, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the targets to attack him because as his level increases above theirs, they will also have a little bit harder time hitting him. Let's see here. Percent life from battle orders and oak sage. They are applied to the Iron Golem. However, they are applied after Golem Mastery. So once Golem Mastery applies its life bonus, then the Oak Sage and the Battle Orders will apply theirs. I also already talked about this. Iron Golem's Thorn only applies to itself. And is always overridden by regular thorns. So anytime a regular thorns is present, it will override the Iron Golem's thorns completely. Of course, as soon as the regular thorns is gone, the Iron Golem's thorns comes back. Let's see here. So right here it says, summoned again in a new game if the Necromancer has at least 1 skill point invested or a skill bonus. Stats are based on skill bonuses applied at the beginning of the game. So exactly as I had stated it, every single time you join a new game, he's resummoned at your current skill level. The Iron Golem cannot open doors, so that's an interesting one. The Iron Golem can also not be knocked back or put into a hit recovery state. So this is kind of an interesting quirk of the Iron Golem. He basically is, he's going to stand right there, which is another reason why not to give him knockback, because if you give him knockback, it's going to have a deleterious effect on his lifespan as he chases something off into oblivion. Trying to think here. I may have also trying to think. The maximum life from the battle orders and the Oak Sage, and I think I mean to go over that a little bit more. So the maximum life from battle orders and Oak Sage is not added to the percent life from Golem Mastery and Blood Golem Mastery. It is applied afterwards. I think that says it a little bit better than I said it earlier. So basically what that means is that the extra bonus life from battle orders and oak sage only applies to the base life of the golem, not the bonus golem mastery life of the golem. So when you look at the golem here, it says he has 10,192, and that's not actually correct because his actual HP before the golem mastery, as you can see, let me go ahead and pump some points into strength so I can actually wear my gear. As you can see, he's at 1,029 without Golem Mastery. So he doesn't really get as much of a bonus from Battle Orders and Oak Sage as you would think, because once you start pumping in things like Blood Golem, he goes up to 1,960, and then you pump in Golem Mastery, and he goes up to 10,192. So he doesn't get as much extra life as you would think from those abilities. And I think that's pretty much it. I've already gone on for 35 minutes on the Iron Golem. If you guys have any questions, I would try to answer them. There's a couple other things here I guess I could go over. So, damage regeneration. He has damage regeneration of 3. He has a default critical chance hit of 5%, which isn't very high, but it's there. He does have a drain effectiveness of 0, which means that you can't drain life off of the Iron Golem, same way skeletons work. He does have a chill effectiveness of -50, which basically means that everything that is a chill effect will get cut in half. And he does have 50% lightning resistance and 100% poison resistance. I don't know why he has 100% poison resistance, but there it is. And then, of course, the resistances from Summon Resist will stack on top of that. So as you beef up Summon Resist to get it as high as possible, he gets more resistances from that to beef it up even more. He should technically be kind of immune to poison then if he's at 100% poison resistance. And then you also stack on top of it 72. That would make him 172%. I don't know whether he's affected by the held difficulty penalties. So very interesting, a little bit of research, and basically what I've come across is that the Iron Golem can actually be immune to elements if he gets to 100% resistance. He is affected by summon resistance, which of course would give him 72 all at maximum, as you can see there, but that's a pretty high point investment. And on top of that, if you were to summon him with an item that has all resistances on it, like say for instance a Tomb Reaver Cryptic Axe, which has all resistances 50, he could theoretically be immune to all elements with the exception of physical. And he is affected by Conviction, however, so Conviction could bring his resistance back down into the realm of damage ability. So it could theoretically be possible to make an almost immortal Iron Golem. Of course, that doesn't help any against physical damage. You would have to have an item that's going to provide him with some sort of physical damage reduction to go that route. Of course, he does have defense, so you know, he can sort of protect himself a little bit in terms of his survivability. A lot of people apparently have been talking about one of the easiest ways to make a very tanky and almost indestructible Iron Golem is to utilize a paladin shield, basically with 4 P diamonds in it, and you basically just make him out of a paladin shield with 4 P diamonds, and he's essentially invincible to all elements, which is interesting. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.